Hey, it's Tom. Usually at this point of the year, people are beginning to think about the year ahead and oftentimes think about the resolutions, goals, or dreams that they want to accomplish in 2022. Well, if you're thinking about that now, or you're thinking about working on and developing new goals, then you definitely want to watch this video. Because if you've studied personal development, perhaps you have bought into the idea that a dream with a date beside it becomes a goal, or the notion that you should just dump all the thoughts and goals down on a page that you've got, and that articulation of the goal is your goal. That's a big mistake, and you'll see why in this video, because I want to introduce you to an incredibly versatile and powerful tool. It's an incredible problem solving, planning, and also goal achievement tool, and that is the framing tool. The framing tool was developed by my friend and colleague Michael Breen, and in this video I'm going to give you a quick orientation to the framing tool, and I'm going to show you how to be able to use this incredible thinking and planning tool in the context of goal setting. As I mentioned a moment ago, when you're working on your goals, one of the most useful and powerful things you can do is get really clear, crisp definition about the goal that you're working on, and to bring a level of uncommon resolution, I call it, to the goal statement. Because with that level of clarity, it makes achieving the goal become much, much easier. So in this video, what I want to do is give you a quick orientation to the framing tool in the context of goal setting. And I'm also going to include the first two steps from a training I did for some clients with regards to how do you use the framing tool in the context of goal setting. We're going to start by working on validating the goal statement that you've got. And then in step two, I'm going to help you define the qualitative and quantitative aspects of a goal statement. Now, if this is unfamiliar to you, if you've never heard these words before, don't worry, because I'm going to walk through literally an example of a goal. We're going to start off with a typical goal statement that someone might have, and then I'm going to begin to unpack and break out each level of the thinking process that I'm going to teach you. Okay, so let's dive into this. If you have no prior training with the framing tool, then please check out Language Guru Mastering the Meta Model, where you'll get a thorough introduction to how to be able to use the framing tool. This particular training is not going to go into depth on teaching you how the framing tool works, every element, every question, etc. For that, check out Language Guru Mastering the Meta Model. But what I want to do here to help everyone, since I know people will have different experience when it comes to the framing tool, is give you a quick high-level orientation on how to be able to use the framing tool in the context of goal setting and goal achievement, and to help you begin to think about what kind of map to construct when you're using the framing tool that may, and certainly will, when you apply it, make what you do with the framing tool far more effective in the context of goal setting. So for those of you who have prior experience, you'll know that we have the arrow of time, which moves from left to right. So in this case, on the left hand side, we have the past. In the center, what we have, the issue in focus. This is where our goal statement lives. That is the present. And then over here, we have the future. So past, present, future. And this, for those of you who are just being exposed to the framing tool or relatively new at this is giving you an indication of the causality of past to present to future, which very nicely matches to when we're working on our goals. What are the causes that need to be initiated to create certain effects, which ultimately will create the desired outcome or goal state that we're trying to accomplish. Now, on the north-south side, well, on the south side here we have examples, evidence, and sensory detail. This is where we're able to make comparisons in relation to how we know if we're further away or getting closer to our goals. So this whole south side is really focused on the detail. And the north side, well, here we're looking at the bigger picture. So the bigger picture in relation to the goal, and over here when we've got purposes, intentions, values, model of the world, and for those of you who are familiar, above that we'll have cosmology. Well, here is where we're really getting to understand what's driving this behavior, where this specific goal statement that lives in here, what's actually making this person or leading this person to think that if they get this goal statement, it's going to start fulfilling their values. They'll be tapping into the purpose, it'll be tapping into their intention or the group of intentions that's moving their life forward, and ultimately this goal statement is going to be heavily influenced by this person's model of the world, how they think the world happens
to them, or how they experience the world, or if they're proactive, how they go about creating changes in the world. And of course, with all of this, any goal statement that somebody articulates is going to be hugely influenced by the precedences, what has gone on before in this person's life, to set this specific goal statement as the one for them to be pursuing in the present. The influences, cultural, societal influences, the common expectations, whether they're somebody who reads Success magazine will have a very different set of goals than somebody who reads poetry and has no interest in personal development. And then the expectations, again, well, the goal statement and the ambition of the goal statement is going to be heavily influenced by the expectations that the person has. So each of these elements and processes really is what they are having a big impact and will have a big impact on ultimately what the goal statement is. So now that we have an orientation here around the goal, there's something else that's really critical. Whatever the goal statement you or somebody else writes down, we're always coming back, thinking about it from what has gone on in the past. We're asking ourselves the question, what has to happen for this goal to happen? Yeah. So looking at the goal statement that you or someone else has articulated, if we're in the context of making that goal happen, well, one of the key questions is what has to happen in order for that goal to happen. And here we're going to be defining the gap, thinking about up here we've got in the future, we've got the vision. What is it that's pulling this person forward? So, for example, if this was a fitness goal, like they want to get, quote, into the best shape of their life, well, up here they may have a vision of themselves being super fit, super, beautiful, beach body, ready for the summer, etc. And that is something that they find very compelling, which is then influencing the goal statement of what they choose with regard to the present goal statement that they've articulated. And of course, the role models and expectations and influences they've had over here in the past is heavily going to dictate that and influence the vision. If they've tried a whole bunch of stuff before and they failed to get into shape, then, as you can imagine, that expectation is going to act as a feedback loop and ultimately result in that person not having much of a vision. No real connection, because they may want the goal statement of to get super fit, but when they think about the past and they think about all the times they've tried to do it before and they get bad feelings about it, that K is kinesthetic, so they have bad feelings about it, that invariably results in the person thinking it's not going to happen for them. Hence, the vision that they see as what's possible, in this case, their expectation in the future, if you will, is going to be very limited. It's not going to be very rich. Therefore, when it comes to the motive force to get this person to move from where they are now, what they're doing, to creating this future vision and future for themselves that they want, is likely to be suppressed. And when you're working with somebody trying to help either yourself or someone else, this building out this vision element and making sure that it connects back to the present, so that literally the future pulls this person from the present into the future. That's when your goals really begin to hum. Yeah, when you can do that, and this process, by the way, is actually much easier than most people realize. It's just they're not necessarily aware of the activities that are happening in their own mind and the thoughts that they're creating or producing that is having a direct impact on what they feel. Okay, so now with a high-level picture of we've got past, present, future, you're beginning, if you're using if you've been exposed to the framing tool before, hopefully you're beginning to see how the framing tool is beginning to connect up, how we have detail, we have the big picture, we have past, present and future, the arrow of time, and we have, in this case, beginning to look at what the person needs to do, what has to happen in order to create the goal statement. Okay, so now let's dive into actually using the framing tool in the context of your own goal.